Hello folks. So we have learned about many React hooks till now, but all of them were built-in React hooks. So in this video, you will learn about how you can create one React hook on your own. And these are also called custom hooks. So here, as you can see, we have one simple counter function. We have the add, reset, and sub buttons. If I click on the add, the counter will be added by 1. If I click on sub, it will be subtracted by 1. And if I click on reset, it becomes 0. Now you will see how we can use one use counter hook, which is definitely a custom hook to create our counter function. And this will be much better approach than this one because we can also reuse the use counter hooks in any other part of our application in case our application is much bigger than this one. So what I will first do is I will create another file and this time I will name it differently. I will use usecounter.jsx and using the use is one convention while creating reactors. Now inside the use counter function, I can also use the built-in React hooks. And actually we have to use many built-in React hooks to create our counter hooks or like any other custom hooks. So I will start by importing the use state hook because we need it. And then I will create one function. I will name this function as use counter. And inside this function, I want to do all my count operations. So I will start by creating one variable called count and as well as a set count function. And I will use the initial value as 0. Later, we will see how we can also get one initial value. Now, what I want to do is I want to do all my count operations. So I will create some functions. So let me create one function add. And inside this add function, we already know what we want to do. We will call our set count function and we will have access to one previous count. And we will simply do the previous count plus 1. Similarly, we will also create one like function sub and that will simply subtract instead of adding. And lastly, we will also have one function called reset and which will basically reset the value to 0. So here I will make set count to be 0. That's it. So now we have come to the most important part and that is how we can use the use counter function. So now before using it, generally every function returns something. So here also I will return two things. So I will first of all return the count because I want my count from my use counter function. But also I have to return this add, sub, and reset. These three functions we have to execute, so we also have to return this thing. So now let's say I will return something called action. And this action is something I have to create now. So I will create const action equals to. And this will be one object containing all these functions. So this object will contain the add, the sub, and the reset. So we have it now. And now lastly, I also have to export my use counter hook. So I will simply do export default my use count. So now this use counter hook is in a shape to be used in other functions. So I will go back to my app.jsx and here I am using many things. So let me just quickly delete everything because none of this is required. And I will keep this count, let's say. And what I want to do here is I will remove the use state and instead I will import my use counter function because this will now do the job. And now what I want to do is I will use the use counter and it doesn't expect any value, so I will remove the 0. And I have something here and it should be action and not set count. So count and action. So now our job seems really easy because we have the action and we know that inside the action we have all this add sub and reset that we want to use. So what I want to do is I want to create some buttons and we know that inside the buttons we will have some on click. And inside the on click, what I want to do is I want to execute the add sub and like reset functions. So how can I do that? And that is very simple because inside on click, we simply reference the function. So let's say I will reference the action.add here and let me just create one add here. So when I'm clicking on it, so as you can see, it works. And similarly, I will create my reset as well as the sub. And here, if I simply give the reset as well as the sub, my counter function will work perfectly fine. And this thing is done using one custom hook called use counter. So we are using the use state, but this is encapsulated, you can say, inside the use counter hook or function, whatever you can say. In React, we generally call these things custom hooks. So now, lastly, one more thing we will see is that let's say I want to give it some initial value. So let's say when I'm resetting it, it is right now 0, but let's say I want to start it from 10. So what I want to do is I will pass the value of 10 in the use counter and I will go to my use counter hook and here I will, let's say, get one init value as an argument. And let's say this init value is by default it's 0. Otherwise, it could be like whatever we are passing, and it will be starting from the init value. So now, as you can see, we have the 10. If I click on reset, it still becomes 0. And that is because here I have made set count 0. So I can make it set count as init value. So now if I click on reset, it becomes 10. And everything is starting from 10. So that's it about use counter hook. And this is like one custom hooks, and I believe that's all we require to create one good counter app. And that's it about custom hooks also. So if you have learned something new in this video, consider liking the video. It gives me a lot of motivation to create a lot more videos like this. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.